Developments on the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Ukrainian operatives have reportedly employed a tactic inspired by Israeli Mossad, planting explosive devices in virtual reality goggles used by Russian drone pilots. These booby-trapped goggles distributed to Russian forces via unwitting volunteers, detonated upon activation, resulting in multiple injuries among Russian operators. This operation underscores Ukraine's innovative strategies in countering Russian aggression. Following President Trump's dissatisfaction with President Zelenskyy's initial rejection, the U.S. has proposed a revised minerals agreement. The deal would grant the U.S. significant access to Ukraine's critical mineral resources as compensation for support. However, concerns arise over agreement's imbalance, favoring U.S. interest without offering substantial security guarantees for Ukraine. This development raises questions about potential coercion and the implications for Ukraine's sovereignty. In a recent statement, President Trump accused Ukraine of starting the war with Russia, a claim that aligns with Russian propaganda and distorts the factual narratives of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Such assertions not only undermine Ukraine's legitimate defense efforts, but also pose risks to U.S. national security by potentially weakening alliances and emboldening adversaries. The U.S. has declined to co-sponsor a United Nations resolution backing Ukraine ahead of war's anniversary. This reluctance sends a troubling signal regarding America's commitment to supporting nations under siege and may undermine global efforts to hold aggressors accountable. The move has sparked criticism from allies and raises concerns about the current administration's foreign policy priorities. Hello, I'm Slavie, and this is Echoes of War on channel Yaroshenko, where we break down the latest developments in Ukraine, fight for sovereignty, and the broader geopolitical stakes surrounding it. Here, you get a Ukrainian-American perspective on the war, cutting through propaganda and misinformation to bring you the truth about Ukraine's battle for survival and what it means for the United States and the world. Today's updates reveal the complex dynamics at play, from high-stakes international diplomacy to the resilience of Ukraine's defenders on the front lines and the Ukrainian people fighting for all of our freedoms. We'll also unpack the latest shifts in U.S. policies, Russia's new strategies, and the global response. Feel free to ask me questions in the comments below. Also, if you're new here, welcome. Please don't forget to subscribe. And don't forget, a thumbs up goes a long way. Thanks so much, guys. All right, let's talk facts, because right now there's a dangerous wave of disinformation coming from none other than Donald Trump himself. And it's not just misleading, it's actively harmful to U.S. national security and Ukraine's fight for survival. Trump's latest outrageous claim that Ukraine started the war, that somehow Zelenskyy is a dictator, that Ukraine should be paying back the U.S. for military aid, like it's a business deal rather than a global security investment. So let's break it down piece by piece, because every one of these statements is a flat-out lie, straight from Putin's playbook. Trump says Ukraine started the war, but Ukraine did not start the war. Russia invaded Ukraine in 2014 by illegally annexing Crimea. Then in 2022, Russia launched a full-scale invasion, slaughtering civilians, bombing cities, and committing war crimes. Ukraine did not fire a single shot at Russia before this. If Ukraine started the war, why were Russian tanks rolling into Kyiv in February 2022? If Ukraine started the war, why did Putin give a speech justifying the invasion with his nonsense about Ukraine not being a real country? If Ukraine started the war, why did every single Western intelligence agency warn that Russia was about to invade months before it happened? Is rewriting history in a way that directly benefits Putin. And for what? To justify abandoning Ukraine? To make it easier for the Kremlin to push its propaganda into America? This isn't just stupid, it's dangerous. Now, let's talk about Trump's claim that Zelenskyy is a dictator. That's an absolute lie. Zelenskyy was democratically elected by over 73% of Ukrainians in a free and fair election in 2019. He didn't take power by force. He wasn't installed. He ran on an anti-corruption pro-Western platform, and Ukrainians overwhelmingly chose him over the pro-Russian candidate. The biggest lie Trump and his allies push is about Ukraine not holding elections right now, as if that makes Zelenskyy a dictator. The truth is simple. Ukraine is under martial law because it is literally fighting for its survival. No democratic country in history has held elections while being actively invaded. Not the US during the Civil War, not the UK during World War II, nobody. Ukrainian officials have said they want elections, but it's when it's possible. But right now, sending people to voting booths would mean sending them to die in Russian missile attacks. Meanwhile, Trump openly admires actual dictators Putin, Xi, and Kim Jong-un. You know, the guys who literally never have elections or have election with 99% of a vote. But somehow, Ukraine is the problem. Give me a break. Then there's the absurd idea that Ukraine should pay back the US for military aid or pay reparations. Trump is treating this like a business transaction instead of a global security issue. But here's the reality. Every dollar the US spends in Ukraine weakens Russia, America's enemy. The weapons the US sends to Ukraine, most of them aren't free. A huge part of this aid is loans or purchases, and most of it actually stays in US. So American manufactures new weapons and Ukraine buys the old US weapons, which strengthens the US defense industry and economy. Trump acting like Ukraine is some ungrateful beggar is completely dishonest. The reality? Ukraine is doing the world a favor by standing up to Russia, something Trump never had the courage to do. Pulling support from Ukraine is not just betrayal, it's national security disaster. For the US, it would embolden Putin to keep pushing westward, putting NATO allies in Europe at risk. China has been waiting for this moment forever, for America to go into isolationist mode so China would take America's place as being the world's #1 superpower. Also, China would most likely invade Taiwan. If China were to seize Taiwan and its semiconductor industry, it would gain control over the world's most advanced chip manufacturing capabilities, potentially propelling it ahead in the global AI race. This would jeopardize US technological leadership as American industries and defense systems heavily rely on Taiwanese semiconductors. The shift could enable China to dominate AI advancements, posing significant strategic and economic challenges to the United States. It would destroy whatever is left of the US credibility. Trump's disinformation about Ukraine is a direct threat to US national security. It emboldens America's enemies, weakens US influence, and puts millions of people at risk. So, what can you do? Call out the disinformation whenever you see it. Support Ukraine and NATO's fight against authoritarianism. Hold politicians accountable when they push blatant falsehoods. Because if Ukraine falls, the cost won't be just theirs. It will be all of ours. If you guys enjoyed today's news brief, make sure to subscribe so you never miss an update. Like and share this video to spread awareness. Comment below. I want to hear your thoughts on today's stories. Also, support independent journalism. Your support is vital in helping us provide in-depth coverage of these critical events. You can contribute through the Buy Me a Coffee link in the description box below. A huge thank you to everyone who has donated. Special thank you to Chris Johnson. You guys help keep this channel alive. I'll see you all in the next update, which is coming up very soon. Stay strong, stay informed, and stay with Ukraine. God bless America, and Slava Ukraini.